All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us live this evening. My name is Sarah. I'm a team member here with Nerve Health Group, and I'm joined, as always, by Dr. Don Kennedy. He is our Chief Medical Advisor, and he will be introducing himself in just a moment. Tonight, we're really excited to be diving into a topic that is really something we get a lot of questions about kind of over and over again. So, we're looking forward to digging into that a little bit more and leaning on Dr. Kennedy's expertise in this area, and that is about rebuilding nerves and really how can we kickstart that nerve regeneration, getting those unhealthy nerves healthy again, and really get to feeling better and living life. So, with that, Dr. K, would you mind just providing everyone who maybe hasn't joined us on the live before with a quick introduction of who you are?
Yes, I love doing that because that's who I am. I'm Dr. Don Kennedy. I've been doing this for over 40 years now. I've been a family practitioner, board certified in that, and then specifically trained in some regenerative medicine. A lot of the newer stuff. I've probably tried a little of everything through my years of family practice. I little mostly geriatrics, and now we're looking at an entire new world. Which is what's fun about this is listen. This is not the usual discussions that we had in practice 15, 20 years ago. It wasn't here. So, my job, Sarah, and the folks that are listening, is to teach and kind of motivate and get folks to kind of think about their lives and where they're going. And I love doing that part of that. So that's what I do with Nerve Renew and what we do, especially with these Facebook lives. We try to really just have fun, and I tell folks, listen, don't get caught up in all the little stuff. Kind of just absorb what we're talking about, and we'll try to make it visual. By the way, I have another visual thing tonight, and we'll talk about that. All right. And all right. So Sarah is going to lead us in because that's what she does. Thank you, Sarah.
If you have joined us before, you know that Don has some pretty remarkable drawings that he has brought to previous lives. So looking forward to seeing what you've drawn for us tonight. And thank you as always for joining us and giving us your time to share straight with this community of our customers and our just the greater community. Those really looking for ways to better support their nerve health. And tonight, the focus is always on education. That's what we gather here and we present. And really, these are coming from, like I mentioned, Dr. Kennedy's experience. He has those decades of experience that we lean on constantly when it comes to, just creating new products or redoing products and improving products, all of those things, and how we can just stay on top of what is the science that's coming out, what is being studied, what are those things that we need to be keeping aware of too. So thank you, Dr. K, for everything just that you've given for us and the guidance you've provided and your time this evening. If you guys have not joined a live before, just a quick note. We love for these to be interactive and for you to ask questions. Definitely feel free to type into that comment box. If you're joining us from your computer or your phone, it might be below this video or just to the side. Definitely drop those questions in as we go through the material that Dawn has prepared for this evening. And we will, if we have time, Dr. K and I will go through and answer as many of those as we can at the end of our material. But if not, rest assured, our staff is monitoring those as well. So we will get questions answered either live tonight or definitely in the following days. So with no further ado, let's get into kickstarting nerve regeneration. Now, that feels like a broad topic, Dr. K. So how are we going to narrow this down and kind of focus in the conversation tonight? What are we going to really be getting into?
First, define regeneration. It's a great word.
Yeah.
It's very simply this: using the body's own defenses, metabolic processes to heal itself. And that way before we had medication, it did a pretty good job. And they've rediscovered ways to stimulate and to regenerate nerves, get them back to where they were from a disease process. When we talk about regeneration, we're talking about moving from a disease process to real life, feeling good again, regenerating the nerves back to functionality, making them function the way they were supposed to function. So that's definition of regeneration. So if you hear that, that's what it means.
Okay. Great starting point. That gives kind of the foundation for really what we're building on tonight. So I know you have a few different, I think three, right? Three different things we're going to be getting into
Right.
as far as actual tools that people can utilize. So, do we want to? Is there anything else kind of to set the stage for before we get into those actual
Yeah,
features?
I'd like. Let's do this, Sarah. Do you have any shoes on?
I have slippers on.
Okay, so I'd like everybody to think about this. We're going to talk about, and the first thing I'm going to do is teach you about the nerves in your feet in a different way. Probably never been ever taught this way. It's just the way I do things. I teach at a school. I do other stuff, and I found that visual is best and personal is even better. So imagine you're bare. Yeah, some of you are barefoot. I'll bet some of you are barefoot, and so you can imagine if you're wearing shoes that you're looking at your feet. I'd like you to pretend you're looking at your feet right now, looking at your toes, looking at the top of your feet, thinking about the bottom of your feet, and just looking at those feet because that's where if when most people have complaints of symptoms, that's where it begins, and that's where it gets worse. And so now that we're looking at our feet, let's talk about your feet and nerve structure. And so this is just a funny little way. People don't know this. And so understand that when you look at and you're looking at your feet and see some little wiggly worm type nerves in your feet and they're just happy and at least for most of you, and what they're doing is sending signals to your brain. These nerves come from your brain all the way through your body, through your thighs, through your knees, right down to the bottom of your feet, where they become smaller and smaller and smaller as they take that journey. Okay, so many of you will want to purchase my pictures. I don't have them for sale. So my first picture on this is what's called a nerve cell. I'll put it over here so you can see it, maybe back here. What you have here are two nerve cells, and that's a cell. And what you see, these little tentacles coming out from are called dendrites. Every nerve is like this, and it hooks onto another one. Okay, everybody see the two cells and the dendrites, the little tentacles, like two little octopuses there, and they're touching their tentacles. All nerves are like that. Now, what's important is those nerves, the little tentacles coming out there, are actually the nerves themselves. They transmit. You can see at the top it says information. That's their job to tell you what's going on. If you look at the other end, what is going on in the world? Now, what's important is this other picture takes you to what that tentacle looks like. And here's I call it my hot dog picture. But this is, if you're looking at those tentacles, they're made up of what's called, it's a sheath, like a hot dog bun around a hot dog. And the hot dog is the axon where all of the information goes. I'm trying to get this in here so people can see it. And then you can see that all of these tentacles look like that, and they hook to each other all the way down from the brain all the way to your feet. Now, everybody think about this, and you're looking at your feet, and you can see these things going all the way down. But there's one big difference. See that sheath that's around the nerve?
Yeah.
That's that sheath of nerve. When you get all the way to the end of your feet, that sheath around the small nerves, the smallest nerves that come out right where you feel touch, where the signals are coming from, do not have that sheath. They're not as protected. So they're more apt to get damage. So now you can see you got this nice little group of nerves going down to your feet. And as they get right there near the skin, all of a sudden they're not protected. They're sitting there, they're collecting information, they're getting heat, temperature, feeling, uh, cat licking your feet, whatever's happening with your feet, they're sending signals to the brain. Nothing happens. You don't know anything about what happens with your feet unless your brain interprets it. That's
Right.
it. All right. So we have this. The base is the small nerves unprotected in the feet, especially and in the hands too, the fingers, uh, sending signals to the brain for interpretation. If step on something hot, it sends a signal up to the brain and says, hey, that's hot. It's probably not a good idea to step on it, right?
Mhm.
Sarah,
Yep.
you're not a fire walker or anything, are you?
The opposite of.
Oh, okay. All right. So get the base because that's all we're talking about tonight. Are those what I call those naked little nerves. And when you're young and whatever, they are millions of those nerves, billions of those nerves collecting information. But as we age, and we begin to have some disease processes like diabetes, autoimmune disease, trauma, what happens for everybody out there to understand, if you're looking at your feet, are those nerves begin to damage from the naked nerve first. It's like a plant. By the way, I'm writing a book about this. I use it. It A plant, if you see a sick plant, it dies from the leaves first. That's where
Mm,
you see it. And the
yeah.
same with nerves. Outside, furthest away, the nerves die from the feet and you slowly get worse back up to the ankles, feet, knees, and whatever. Okay. Important to know. So your little nerves are sitting there and they're apt for damage. They are the ones who get damaged first by whatever poor circulation, high blood sugars, inflammation. And when that happens and they're not getting that, they don't get nutrients, they don't get oxygen, and they just not only do they not transport the right information because they get a little crazy and start firing off, they
Right.
also die. And when they die, there are less nerves. And that's why
Mhm.
sometimes you lose sensation in your feet is there's less nerves, they have died. And then we talk about regeneration, trying to get these nerves back and new nerves, new circulation, when that's what this whole discussion is about. So I know you guys are still looking at your feet, but you don't have to look at them right now and just unless you just really want to. Okay. So that's the whole base of this discussion, those nerves and them sending signals to the brain and getting the signals back to normal. Once they're
Mhm.
back to normal, life gets a lot better because you can walk farther, you can sleep better. Okay. How's that, Sarah?
That is that makes so much sense when you really break it down from kind of head to toes like that, and how they're all connected and how they change so much. And it I never put that together before of why the symptoms always or so frequently occur in the feet, and that just I never put that together of why. So no, that makes a ton of sense. Thank you for breaking that down. Um, One thing I know this question is going to come up is about, can nerves regenerate? So I know we kind of are jumping in with the kind of we're skipping that question and just saying, hey, yes, they can, and here's ways to kickstart it. So can you just speak really quickly on what that nerves at that regeneration process can actually happen? You kind of spoke to it, but if you could just expand on that really quick before we get into our three tools tonight.
Well, everything can repair. Every day, every second of every day, there is repair going on in your body, not just nerves, but all cells. Years ago, they said, well, listen, if you cut a nerve, it's not going to grow back together. Or if you do this to a nerve, it's not going to. That's not true. The
Mm-hmm.
studies have shown that with, okay, big point here, everybody get ready for the big point. If you change the environment of an ill nerve, it will become better. It will regrow. It will stimulate. It will produce new blood cells. It will get new nutrients. So it's a growth process. And so yes, nerves can regenerate. No, it's not overnight, but it's better than going the other way. So in answer to that, nerves regenerate when their environment improves, the environment that makes them ill. It's like walking out. You ever been anywhere, Sarah, where you got all of a sudden there was a lightning storm and you
Oh
said,
yeah.
and you
Mm-hmm.
weren't protected?
Yeah. Yep.
I won't go into it anymore. I don't know if it was camping or whatever, but here nor there, when the sun came out and the environment changed, boy, you were happy, weren't you?
Oh yeah.
And
Yes.
then you probably got out of all the wet clothes, put some new stuff on, and you were regenerated.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever
Absolutely.
thought of that before? Is that no?
No, but it makes me think of you mentioned plants earlier. I've seen this quote a handful of different times that if a plant isn't growing, you don't blame the plant, you change its environment. It's you address the sunlight, you address the soil, you address the water, etc. You don't blame the plant, and that it's very similar. It's like all of those things are really what has the impact
Right.
um, itself. So
Yes.
okay.
So the idea is small naked nerves,
Mhm.
happy when they're young, they're out of the rain, then they have damage because of storms, and the job is to get them out of the rain and get them dried off and change the environment, sunshine, happiness. That's the whole idea of what we're about to talk about. Three ways to kickstart regeneration, which means get your nerves back to normal functioning. So, should we go there?
Let's go there. And one caveat too is without prescriptions. We our approach is absolutely on that. What can we do to naturally support those nerves to do what they're supposed to do? So
Well, and
let's.
this is a point. Let me make this point. Understand that the medications we give, and I prescribed, I've done, is to stop nerve um, discomfort.
Right.
Remember, I said it was all interpreted in the brain. All of the medications that they give
Mm-hmm.
orally are meant to work in the brain, to just stop the brain from interpreting. It has nothing to do with improving the function or regeneration of nerves. So that still goes on. Medications, though, and I'm glad they have them because a lot of people have um,
Mm-hmm.
nerve issues. And so the fact is, it's all about life. And yes, that's what we do. And yes, we still do it, but it's called hiding and healing. Not
Right.
really regeneration is a real word. It's hiding symptoms or healing the problem. I think we're talking about here just healing the problem. I'm not talking about taking any medication. So you're
Right.
right. This is a great point.
Well, thank you. All right, let's get into the first of our three that we're sharing tonight. What is the first one that people can utilize and add into their regimen?
Okay, let's talk about Mary.
Okay.
And so I
Mary.
love talking about patience because it's what you guys do. You're looking at your feet, and they're pretending if any of you have the issues with discomfort, then and the symptoms, then you know that there are ways to affect things. Now we talk about first of all, I'm going to talk about Mary and putting electrodes on her feet or wherever that area in the morning, maybe twice a day. Those are TENS units. Now look,
Yeah.
these are great units, and what they do is they electrically stimulate those naked little nerves on the skin. Those
Mm-hmm.
nerves are sleeping. They're trying to. They still have an environment that's a little toxic, that's a little inflamed, and here along comes these TENS units, and they put electrical impulses just lightly into those areas, and
Mm-hmm.
that starts a magic stimulation of those arteries. Uh, and the nerves and the environment around that. It actually, when I talk about the storm, it kind of say, wait a minute, storm, we're going to attack you. We're going to make the sunshine come out again. We're going to stimulate the environment you're in. And this is a really cool, and these are not, I think, expensive. And you can research them. I can talk about, you can get them, but it's a simple and inexpensive way to have an almost immediate effect on the symptoms of the disease processes. Okay, it's simple, it's inexpensive, it can be done twice a day. People say, well, is it going to be long term? Well, I don't know. The answer is, in some people, they'll do this TENS unit in the morning, put the electrodes on for 15 minutes, and they get basically symptom free or lower symptoms for hours and hours, or just an hour. Sometimes that's all you need.
Right.
Sometimes, when they're done on a regular basis, it becomes a regular process, and all of the symptoms kind of abate and they go away or get less longer term. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's really not definable in terms of the amount of time, but I like the fact that somebody's having an issue, put on the electrodes or plan on it in the morning when they're first getting up. So TENS units, electrical stimulation of these naked little nerves in the environment is the first thing I think about because it stimulates, it wakes up the nerves, and it increases the blood flow in that environment. And something else does, and I'll talk about this too, is it
Yeah.
calls in cells that like to regenerate. It's actually the body saying, wait a minute, what are you doing to me? And the natural process of regeneration begins because in comes these warriors and say, look, let's fix this area. So
Mm-hmm.
TENS units are a simple, effective, inexpensive way to begin a superficial process there on the feet. And I know you guys are all looking down at the little electrodes on your feet right now. So okay, you can take those off and we'll go to something else. Is that right?
Yes, and we have heard there's a lot of research that supports the TENS units, and there are some varieties, but they're all, I mean, relatively the same type of product. So you can source those on Amazon. I mean, there's a lot of different options out
Right.
there, and just a lot of research. So we always encourage you guys to take some time and educate yourselves. Find your own research and just learn a little bit more as well. But there's a lot out there that really kind of supports the relief that these can
Right.
really help achieve.
Right.
So, okay, that's a really great first thing. What is our second tool or modality that one could explore?
Well, it's about Sheila. It was Mary first. She's putting little electrodes, pulse generations, electrodes, whatever, stimulating those little nerves, but those nerves are still sitting there. So her friend Sheila, who has a problem, and says, "You know what? I think every morning I'm going to get up, and even Mary could do this, and begin massage." You think, "Oh, come on, it's just massage. What the heck? It's not going to matter." It matters.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that the nerves that we talked about, those little tiny nerves at the very right at the superficial, very part of the skin, are waiting to be touched. Even though you may have some discomfort in doing it, those nerves are waiting to have their environment change, and massage is a great way to do that. Anything that will help do that. I tell folks who don't have I'll talk about some other things in a second, but um, the idea is to begin the day. Sometimes I tell people to prevent swelling and also with some swelling that's uh, lymph tissue pressing on the nerves, pressing on that, causing more discomfort. Massage helps to move those toxins out of there. I tell people who ask about early massage or massage during the day to go from the distal, the end part of the feet, and massage back up toward the ankles. We're pushing and easy. Don't go crazy with it. Don't put big gloves on and the rest of this. Just easy massage, maybe 10 minutes. You'll get good at it. You can find stuff online that shows you how to do it, but it matters because it changes the environment of the nerve and starts to remove the toxins. What's toxic is the lymph flow that's there, the clear that goes back up toward the legs to the heart. That's what causes the edema. You want to increase the blood flow. You want to get the nutrients there, and you can't do it if there's swelling. And one of the things I like people ask about, well, what do you do? Can you do? They have things called massage boots. Uh,
Right.
Actually, my
Mm-hmm.
wife has a a pair of those, and they just lightly massage, and they're really good in terms of people, especially who can't get down or who don't want to do that with their hands, and just maybe 5 or 10 minutes or so of that would be great. And it's without making sure that they never go on anybody who have a lot of swelling or wounds or poor blood flow. That's not for those people. It's for people with mild to moderate problems, and not a lot of swelling, but because you can get too much pressure on it. But it's a logical way to move that lymph, move the toxins out. So we talked about electrical stimulation. We're talking about now we're moving the toxins out.
Yeah.
The other thing I like, and I just had a sample of these, is socks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was wearing these when I came in here, but no, I wasn't. I was kidding. But there's socks, special socks out there that are compression, kind of copper based socks. I love those
Yeah.
because they're also warm. And I know that there's a cream that Irvinu has that you can put on under the socks that will
Yeah.
help with desensitization and increased blood flow. So I'm just saying that if you're looking at massage, simple massage, you're looking at moving the toxins out, but it's not something you just do once in a while. It should be a regular part of a regimen. And
Right.
so I'm saying, look, Mary gets up in the morning, puts on electrodes, and now Sheila gets up every day, and in the evening too, does a quick 10-minute massage or puts the boots on or wears the socks during the day. Something to keep the lymph flow. And what are we doing again? We're stimulating and changing the environment of the nerve endings and the nerves so they can regenerate. We're pushing oxygen, nutrients, and anti-inflammatory right into those areas. Otherwise, guess what they're doing? They're just sitting there.
Yeah. Dying.
And what'd you say?
They're just dying.
It's a pretty stark
Yeah.
statement. I agree, and that's where you don't want. Okay,
Right.
and so what do you think?
When you were talking, one thing that came to mind, and I don't know why this stuck with me the way that it has, because it's like the simplest concept, but I was it was on a podcast talking about going to the gym and exercising really, really, really hard for 8 hours in one day will not get you in shape. What will get you in shape is working out moderately, lightly, even multiple days in a row. It's the consistency that gets you in shape or that gets you results. It's not a lot of effort
Right.
sporadically. And I don't know why just the framing of going to the gym for 8 hours a day once will not help you. And that contrast maybe I don't that it just stuck with me. And it's very similar. It's not about let's just try this for a week. That you might as well not try. You know, it takes time. All of these things take consistency, just like any other healthy habit would. Um, so just seconding what you said on that, super super crucial. For the and because of some of this stuff that you've shared with us, we've done a lot of research on the massage boots, specifically the compression socks. We've added copper to them, which just helps all of those other features that they have, or the benefits, I should say. So if you guys want to learn more about those specific things, you can go to our website. We've got a lot of information on there. You can kind of learn about what makes those things so helpful. I know some of the feedback we've gotten on the massage boots is that there is, especially if there is symptoms, if someone's experiencing symptoms in their hands as well, self massage can be hard. So it's breaking that up and allowing the boots to do the work. So there's a lot more, like I said, information on the website too if you guys were going to check that out. But those are the self massage, the compression, great, easy ways to
Right.
change the environment of the nerves. So let's talk about the third one. What is the third thing you have for us
Okay.
today?
Well, it's Fred.
Okay.
Fred has an interesting process, and this is actually a real person. His name's not Fred. Every night he goes into his living room and sits down on the couch and puts on some goggles. Okay, and he puts some slippers on, and these slippers contain what they call red lights. And so he goes through a process of 15-30 minutes wearing these. And and I'm not kidding, a direct discussion with him, he says when he doesn't do that, things go south. And he had problems with this for a long time. And so I thought it was important to use him because he caught me off guard because he said uh, he said he had to be careful because his wife also has to wear the lights, the glasses, because of his slippers, because they can emit light. And so it's interesting that I want you to see that. I want you to picture that and what's happening because his life is much better. But I don't always say this. His life is much better because he's watching TV. No, I'm kidding. That was a joke. All right.
Sure.
Right. Let's talk about this. It's called red light therapy. It's new, it's regenerative, it's so much fun. And so, and it can be done, and anybody can do this because it's been used for a lot of different things but for uh, nerve issues and regenerative properties. It's really golden right now. And so I tell folks, and they say, well, ask me, ask me, so say, what the heck is red light?
Yeah.
You, yeah, that's what you're gonna ask me, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. It's such a, I know that it is kind of a newer concept, and I'm so glad that you brought it up and included it tonight. It's one that we've done so much research on, but it does seem like, wait, how is light helping my nerves? So connect the dots for us.
Well, I'll connect the darts. I know many of you waited. Actually, I live in Florida, and my wife was getting ready to watch the Artemis rocket go up. Went over to Cocoa Beach to watch it, and guess what? It didn't do.
What?
The Artemis rocket this week did not go up because of some malfunction. But here nor there, this is where we talk about red light because that's where it started with NASA. They discovered They began these with a spacecraft, and it's just the emission of certain wavelengths, short wavelengths, long wavelengths of light. And with time, they discovered that there was regenerative properties. This it was discovered supposedly for space, but it moved from these large units on spacecraft to lightweight technology that's used today for um, uh, direct targeting of things like brain cancers, things like that. And so
Wow.
this light therapy is very effective in terms and used at different levels, different lengths, different depths.
Mm.
But it has moved into the regenerative world because of its effectiveness in the world of environment of nerves and like I said, nerve regeneration and the symptoms involved. So it's really interesting because there are, if you look at this, what I'll talk about is those little nerves sitting there and pretend it's kind of dark and it's just rained and lightning has come, the storm's gone, but it's still kind of dark and they're just sitting there and you can see your feet, it's kind of dark and these poor nerves are sitting there. And you come along or let's say Fred comes along and puts those slippers on, and all of a sudden the sun comes out and it's warming. And the nerves that were sitting there are saying, "Listen, this is great. I feel so much better." Well, there's that it's the light waves. There's kind of two different ones. One is called red light, which is really just we're talking about depth, 660 nanometers. Think
Right.
about this. The nerves that are superficial are just kind of the tissues, the naked nerves, I call them, are sitting there just waiting for the sun to come out. And so
Okay.
here comes this red light, the 660 nanometers, and those nerves say, "This is great. I'm going to get a little tan. I'm going to feel better. I just get moving."
Mhm.
Blood flow increases, and when blood flow increases, everything gets to those nerves better.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, the nerves, that environment changes. It calls in the growth factors to help nerves regenerate. It changes the tissue around there, not just the nerves, but the arteries, the veins, all of that begins to be stimulated in a different world with the light. And it's
Yeah.
a pretty simple process. But below, remember those little nerves, if you get deeper and deeper, you get to a little more of a deep tissue. You can switch to infrared light, and infrared light is goes a little bit deeper. And so when you're using what's called infrared light, you're actually hitting more of a deeper tissue. And when you're doing to deeper tissue, still the nerves, it's still those areas, but you're looking at calling in more growth factors. You're talking about more regeneration. You're affecting the environment of the naked nerves, but below that, you really start getting some um, anti-inflammatory responses, and again, the larger arteries are opening, getting more blood flow there. So that's what's happening to Fred's feet as he's watching television. The sun's coming out, and the nerves are getting happier, and those light waves are going. Usually, the red light, you're hitting more of the superficial naked nerves. So that's
Yeah.
what he's doing, and this is really important because everything I've said to you about, and I know you're looking at your feet again and wondering what the heck, and seeing what these three things I talked about can do. Everything is about um, letting those nerves, let kind of telling those nerves that, wait a minute, we're not giving up on you. We are, and which is a motivational statement. Things can get better. Symptoms can be decreased, but it takes effort. And so Fred's
Right.
got his boots on, and Sheila's massaging her legs, and she's got her massagers on or whatever, and then Mary's got her electrodes on, and we have all of these people, and they're all ways to change the environment and help those nerves regenerate.
Yeah.
And so the most important part of everything I'm talking about right now involves people doing it. And so, uh, how many times, Sarah, has somebody told you, and I like that your thing about the gym is great. Okay, Sarah, this is what I want you to do. I want you to wake up every day and go to the gym 5 days a week. Could you do that?
I could. Yes.
Okay, so that means you're going to do it.
That's questionable.
I'm just saying, look, there's studies out that show that even with medications, 90% of patients do not. And I teach a lot of medical students, and it's like, listen, patients only do what they can possibly do, what they believe in, and what they can actually do that's not time consuming or painful or makes them not want to do that. So
Right.
I think if I had, I think if I had any words of wisdom here, it's try something new. One of these maybe. Have a
Sure.
little regimen over a short period of time and ease along. No, you don't have to do it every day immediately for a year. No, but get something and just begin. Maybe just some massage thing in the morning, or maybe just get the start some 10 units, uh, or according to where you are in your journey with this uh, with the nerve issues, is
Mhm.
maybe you want the red light or try something different, because most people that we talk to have tried everything and they don't know about this regenerative process, and
Yeah.
they get medications,
Right.
and as a matter of fact, I have a young man who I spoke with the other day. Get this, he is 23 years old, Sarah. He
Wow.
swung a golf club really hard. Okay, this is a true story,
Okay.
guys. And I don't know, there's golfers out there. I don't know about you. I've found that swinging a club very hard probably is not going to stop me from paying my son-in-laws for the golf that I have to pay at the end of the 18 holes. Okay, so
Sure.
but his back hurt. All of a sudden, days later, he's having symptoms into his legs and feet, and he goes to a neurologist. He goes to a couple of people. They do studies. They say it looks like you've got a problem coming from the areas in your back or the nerves, but we can't figure it out. So here's some medication. You'll be on for probably the rest of your life. And this is recent. This was 6 weeks ago when I spoke with this young man.
Wow.
And so,
Well,
wait a minute, he didn't know about any of this stuff. And the answer was, I didn't. I thought probably, and I know many of you folks out there have disc problems, back problems, and that's probably what that was. But this is a real story. Like Fred's is a real story. Um, it's knowledge base. And so when you guys are still looking at your feet, it's like, wait a minute, understand you can do something. I just gave you three options to wake up those little nerves waiting to regenerate, waiting to grow, waiting to change. Is it true for everybody? Sarah, does it work for everybody?
nope.
No, nothing works for everybody. I will
Correct.
guarantee you that 8 hour day at the gym will put you in your doctor's office, probably. Okay. Had that happen.
Mhm.
um, so the most important point I'll make today is that I've given you three options. And Sarah, I don't know if they're going to be able to get this video, and hopefully they're taking some notes. But you can send them some information about
Yeah.
the options, because in my world, it's always trying to get people away from doing the same old thing that doesn't work and giving up. And then they sit in chairs, or they only walk a certain distance, and then they're not doing anything, and you got to try. And so I'm going back to my motivational statement. You make a commitment, and I'm asking folks out there, this is the commitment. Make a difference starting tomorrow. Plan, take one of these things and do it. Just try it, and try it consistently over a period of time, not just one day. And don't do it 8 hours. No, you're not going to the gym. But if you don't start trying new things, then the nerves, those nerves, as Sarah so distinctly put, will die, or they'll continue with damaging, getting greater damage. And you know what? It's all about you guys just living the life you're supposed to want it to live. That's all I've ever done in regenerative medicine, mostly geriatric, just try to get people to, number one, try something, do something right, and never give up. So those are my those are my three things. And I'll remind people what I just talked. I talked about 10 units. I talked about massage, compression, no socks. I talked about massage boots. I talked about red light therapy and what they're doing with that. So those are three options, Sarah. And I don't know if I have anything else to say, because hopefully folks out there will realize there's not just these, but there's other options. But these are really cool because they're not going to make they're not going to make you goofy by taking them. They're actually not a medication, and so this is pretty cutting edge stuff.
The side effects are pretty limited on these. these kind of options. They're, yes, unlike medications that have a laundry list of side effects. So that was a rather inspiring little summary you did for us there, Don. Thank you for that. Go out and do something. Was thinking in my head while you were saying that, was what little commitment can I make this week to better myself? What little consistent habit can I work on this week? So I made some notes. Thank you for that prompt. It's always important to have those reminders and that influence, just around us. So you guys, I hope you got a lot of that information out of this. We actually will be sharing some more details of the science behind some of these things. Again, we that's part of my job specifically, which I love, is I just get to learn a lot about these and how they specifically relate to nerve health. So we'll be sharing some more content, on these topics and these modalities in the coming weeks. So just keep an eye out for that. Keep educating yourself. Keep looking for those options of what could potentially help you in your situation. And we will be here to help answer questions. Stay plugged into the Facebook group and the Facebook page. We've got our team, is in there too, and they've all taken lessons from this guy. So they know a lot about, regenerative medicine, these kind of products in particular, so they can help answer questions too. You guys are not alone. Stay plugged in, stay in the community, and keep picking those things to just keep trying and adding to your regimen. So,
Hey,
Don,
Sarah,
we are out of time. Is there anything else you want to add before we
yeah,
wrap
I was
up?
gonna say, have you ever done the note on the mirror routine?
Oh, yes, I
Well,
have.
would you tell me about what it is?
Oh, well, I haven't done it in a while. I'm trying to remember what the last one was. It's been a few years, but
What
it
did
was
you?
really helpful. I do remember it was just having that constant, almost subconscious reminder was very powerful. I'm doing that again.
But what am I talking about with the note on the
Oh,
mirror?
oh, sorry. Yes.
That's where
So
I was going.
details. So writing something, either a reminder or, I remember doing one that was more like of a mantra that was the first thing I saw in the morning. But it just writing something on a sticky note and putting it on your bathroom mirror, so you see it usually at least twice a day, if not more. And it's not always about. I remember the science, like looking into this more. It wasn't even about the actively reading it, but your brain, you pick up on all of these things in your environment. So if you have these subconscious reminders, I had one coach tell me once to put them everywhere, all over my house. Put one in the fridge, put one in the closet, put one wherever you see, wherever your visual
Well,
goes
there
on a
the other,
regular basis, like in my office.
and what
Put
was
them everywhere
happening,
because it's
Sarah,
about what's in your environment.
perfect.
Yeah.
And let the folks know there's more than that. What you were just describing is what happens in the brain. We know that people who do yoga, listen to music or so, the brain will regenerate according to what it sees and feels. Okay, so there's a regenerative process going on to the brain when you get stimulation with those sticky notes. And I would make a recommendation. So, let me see, my patient is, let's see, let's go to Sheila the massager. So here's what Sheila's going to do, and I'm going to challenge every one of you to do something like this. Number one, Sheila's going to put massage legs 10 minutes morning. And under that, she's going to put her why. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because she wants to see her grandkids. She wants to walk her dog. Whatever it is, she may want to draw a picture of her dog. But on the sticky notes, what you're supposed to do and why it's important. Because when you start losing those things important in life, boy, that's a motivator, but don't be late. All right. I think I'm done for the night, Sarah. I appreciate it. That was great.
I love that. I'm going to write some sticky notes this evening. I'm excited. All right, you guys. Thank you so much if you joined us live. We really appreciate you having you with us. And if you're watching the recap, thanks for staying plugged in and taking the time to educate yourself and empower yourself as well through your own journey. We try to do these lives every month or so. So we'll be keeping an eye out for next month. And as I mentioned, we'll be releasing some new content, just specifically around these resources, giving you guys some more of the science and more of that education for you to learn from. So thank you so much, Dr. K. Thank you as always. We'll see everybody next time. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye bye.
Good night.